Welcome back to the Rebuild the Construction Mindset podcast. This year we're diving into education with our new series, Rebuild and Relearn, bringing you insights from the front lines of construction and beyond. From trade professionals to students and educators, we're uncovering what truly makes the industry tick.
If you're enjoying the podcast, watching it on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. Follow us on Instagram and LinkedIn, and wherever you listen to your podcast. Your support really helps us keep building and sharing these important stories. Share it with your friends, colleagues, anyone else curious about the construction industry and how we can make it better. Together, we can grow this amazing community. Thanks for listening, and let's jump into today's episode.
Welcome back to our second episode of Rebuild and Relearn. If you haven't listened to the first episode of 2025, please do so you can understand what that is. If you've already listened to our first couple episodes, thank you. We appreciate it. So we can hop right in. So this Rebuild and Relearn episode is geared towards roles that you can go into in the construction industry and what type of roles that are typical if you get a construction management degree, and then what roles you can go into that people don't really know about. It's not very talked about. So yeah, we're going to just dive right in.
Yeah. So I think most of us know, I say that. Can't assume everyone that's listening to us knows this, but the construction management, I guess, degrees or the colleges usually push a route that you see that's more general contractor focused, and you're really taught more that roughly maybe 3 routes. There's the project manager route that takes you up that ladder. There is then the superintendent route that takes you up another one, and then estimator route. So you've got like maybe 3 ladders that you're kind of looking at, and those are very key ladders within the industry. They are the ones that, we're getting the jobs and then we're helping financially and build the job. So they are very, very key to happening. But there is a lot more on top of that or beyond that for support and resources for all companies, not just general contractors, but even trade partners. And I think that's an area that is really missed in the selling of the places you can go work after college in general, or just knowing that a trade partner is out there. They have a lot of the same positions, and it's actually I found it, because that's where I went. I found it a lot more interesting because I learned a lot about a certain type of scope of work in trade in lieu of on the general contractor side. You learn a lot about a lot of little you learn a lot of things, but not like specialized, I guess you can say. You learn all the different scopes, but not as much detailed into them. A lot more in your brain you have to remember. So I just found it more exciting for having one scope. I found that more exciting when I was coming out of college. So I definitely ran to the trade partner line. But yeah, I mean, you come in out of college and say, Jenna, you can, since you're the newer one compared to the two of us coming out of college, you could start as like what a field. There's some companies that have field engineers. There's some companies that are office or project engineers, office engineers. Those are kind of all the potential lowest level of that ladder. And I think some GCs, a field engineer is assumed towards the superintendent ladder. An office or project engineer may be assumed more towards the PM ladder, or an estimating engineer, I think, is another one. They all have little different names depending on who you're talking to and what companies you work for. But I think that's usually where you start, right?
Yeah. And to kind of go into those roles and what they do, I mean, this is a very broad overview. A bunch of different companies will probably have maybe slightly different role or job description for these roles, but generically they're mostly pretty much the same. An estimator is the person who is putting together bids. So if you don't know what a bid is, please go back and listen to our first episode. We kind of describe a little bit what that means. But essentially, they're the ones who receive the drawings for a project that the contractor is wanting to win, right? They want to work on this project. They want to build this building. So they'll get a set of drawings from the owner, typically, who is the owner of the project. So let's say it's a school district who is essentially sending this out and saying, okay, like, we want to see who's going to be the lowest number, and we're going to hire that person, and they're going to build the school for us. So they are the ones who are going and reviewing the drawings and putting together an estimate for how much they think that this building is going to cost to build. And when they submit that number, that is essentially what they're saying. This is how much we are going to build this project for. There's a couple different avenues of that. It's not always that type of a method, but that is the most standard traditional method. And the estimator is then the ones who, and I guess it kind of depends on the contractor. Sometimes they're the ones who are also, once you get the project, they're signing up the trade partners. So then they're going out to bid to the trade partners. But usually I feel like that's more of like the project manager's role. It kind of just depends on what contractor you go to. I can speak very intelligently about project managers because I am one. So a project manager, like Kelley mentioned earlier, you typically would go into a job either as a project engineer, is what they're called, or an office engineer. And that's kind of the entry level. They're basically assistant project managers, essentially, is what it is. And your job is to be the point of contact for your client. So whether that's as a trade partner, your client's the general contractor, or as a general contractor, your client's the owner. You are the point of contact for the most part with that individual. You are basically the conductor is the way I like to say it. You kind of are juggling a lot of balls at the same time because you're essentially trying to, from the very beginning of the project. So while it's in the pursuit, even you go to interviews. So when you win the project, you're helping with the purchasing, or you're buying out the project, and then or to like the trade partners or whatever it is, the material if you're a trade partner, and then you're kind of going into the submittals portion of it, which we can go on into what submittals are later on. But you're essentially just managing the entirety of the project. So from start to finish, your name's on the project, and you're basically managing the budget, the schedule, the people. If there's any issues, you're the one trying to figure it out, writing RFIs, things like that. I don't know, Kelley, if you have any other description for it.
I mean, you deal a lot more with at the lowest level. Yeah, you're dealing a lot. That's where you're going to learn the most, probably about construction and how the industry is just built. A lot more about the details and what happens in the day to day. Because definitely, as you move higher up that track, you're dealing more focused into the financials of the job, the money, how to have those communications with trade partners or with a general contractor, with your client. It definitely gets more financial focused as you get higher up that ladder. See, the lower you're down there when you come out of college, it is very much data focused. I think we talked about some of this in our first episode.
Mm-hmm. And then a superintendent is basically the point of contact in the field. So they're the ones managing site logistics. They're the ones who are the point of contact for, the schedule usually. So they're the ones who are basically making the schedule, making sure that everyone is installing in sequence and things like that. They're very much my husband's a superintendent, so I'm trying to think of how to describe what he does very well. They are basically the person who makes sure that the building is built correctly and that it's built per the drawings and that everyone gets along in the sandbox. Like all the trade partners are playing well in the sandbox, and that, if there's any issues that arise or, permitting, all the things like that is what they're taking care of. It's a really, really stressful but super fun role. They're on their feet constantly. They're always on site. I mean, they do have to be on the computer, to work, but for the most part, they're on site. And it is a very, you have to understand construction to a degree to be able to be a superintendent. Like, you've got to understand not just the paper side of things. So,
yeah, that's definitely less. I mean, you care about the financials, but again, it's manpower focused. managing multiple teams of people and trying to plan the best way to move forward on a project.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So maybe we can kind of dig into some of the other roles. Fred.
I got distracted. I also think you can probably cut like me off after like when I started talking about the different ladders, and then I feel like you did a better, like I just kept talking, and I feel like you could probably cut that because then you went into a deeper description of each of them where I just was like, just FYI, just thinking that as you were talking. So that's a very, I would say these are very typical routes even for a trade partner side. If you come into a trade partner, you'll see very similar ladders to grow into. But there's actually a lot more. And I don't think, unless you intern with a company and maybe see some more of that, depending on what their intern program is like, or they allow you to, you're not just working, I guess, on a job site, because not all interns are usually just sitting on a trailer, or they could be. I mean, it's vice versa. I know my first internship, I was literally just sitting out on a job site for all 3 months. And I went into the office, but I was very job site focused. So you don't learn as much about what else goes on. So I think there's so much more that once you're in, it's, I wouldn't say it's easy, but there's other opportunities that you can look at and start looking into. I mean, I know my route, I PE, PM, and then I checked into scheduling, and I was doing scheduling as a trade partner, and got to work on all of the projects that we had for the area. So we got to travel to multiple offices, worked on like handfuls of projects I would never have touched if I would have just stayed as the PE, PM area prior to. So I got different types of experience. Got to work on projects at Disneyland, which I will tell you this right now, I had no clue you could be like working in construction management at Disneyland. I wish I would have realized that, because I would have been applying for those jobs all day long. But I got to do that. I worked on some jobs that went overseas. Didn't go, but I got to be a part of some type of work with them in regards to schedule building and managing our schedules from a trade partner side. And then I went back into the PM route. So it was, just transfer back and forth. So there's some great opportunities in other departments. I mean, when we talk about scheduling, they're going to heavily work with the superintendents, especially on the GC side, on making sure that schedule is where it needs to be. How are we tracking against the contract schedule to our clients? What changes do we need to make? What ads do we need to do? It's really data driven. You're in the program heavily, finding the best ways to make that plan. So that's a whole other route. I think I know a couple of superintendents that have changed into scheduling, found they have that experience being out there in the field, and now they want to try out scheduling. So that's an awesome opportunity to be able to take, and you can even go back. I think I even was talking to a PE yesterday who's right now in scheduling, and he's out on a project doing that. Doesn't want to do it forever. He wants to switch back into that PM track, or superintendent track. I don't remember which one, but he's getting this opportunity to learn something else. And I think that's really great for your growth in whatever role you go to. So scheduling is probably one of the other key ones that you kind of missed. And I would say on the trade partner side, depends on how big the company is. They may not always have schedulers. I don't know, Jenna, if you guys have
We don't.
schedulers.
I'm the scheduler. That's me.
The PM and the supers as trade partners are your schedulers, which is a whole other conversation we could get into about. PMs on trade partner side usually are on multiple jobs at the same time, running multiple projects, running multiple RFIs, different GC teams, where potentially on the GC side, your PMs and your PE teams are focused heavily on one job. The trade partners, you're going to see some mixture of us on multiple jobs, which time management. Having some type of plan of how you manage all that is a really big deal. Another one you'll see on both sides, safety and quality. Obviously, safety is a big deal. We don't want OSHA coming out to any of us in bad times. I think I've got safety people that have worked out in the field from like carpenters, don't have a college degree. They've worked up the carpenter's foreman and found that they want to go that safety route. And I even PEs that found, hey, I want to check out that safety route. So that's a great opportunity. There's a lot of certifications and stuff that go along with that. And that also is a route that I've had some guys coming from just different industries for they've worked in like a manufacturing or some other type of like safety focused role for another industry and came into construction. So that really opens up the possibilities for just anyone. You don't have to have construction management degree for that. And I think that's really cool. Like it's, how do we make sure everyone goes home as safe as possible, less injuries so we can spend time with our family. Right.
Yep.
And quality ties in with that. We've got good work being put in place. And again, I would say it depends on the trade partner. Not all trade partners have quality teams or quality people that oversee the quality that can lead to the PMs and the superintendents on job sites, right, Jenna? And I would say majority does, not all.
Yeah.
Or GCs may have an actual quality focused team members. And again, I've seen that as PEs, PMs, or superintendents that have moved into those roles. So I think there's so many, those are a couple quick opportunities that I've seen a lot of back and forth between PMs and superintendents. I think those are some of the easy ones that ladder equally just splits out into. That's like, hey, I can jump over here because they still really focus heavily on the project day to day. So I think it's easy for a lot of people to jump there.
Yeah. I'd say another really good one is business development. And that's just because I've experienced it myself. I've bounced into the business development role and then bounced back into the operations project manager role. And business development it's a very difficult job. It's a very difficult
you're not
role.
Just going golfing with people or
right. Yeah, that's what people think. Yeah.
Happy hours.
Those are just the perks. But a lot of it is networking. It's building those relationships with your clients, and it's creating a long-lasting relationship that you're going to continue to build those relationships and work on projects together. So a lot of it is a balance because you're obviously trying to make, to win projects and to build those relationships with your clients, but then you're also kind of the person that puts out the fires. So if a project does kind of go south, you're the one who's trying to mend whatever's going on so that you are keeping the relationship in mind. It's not just about the project, it's about the long-lasting relationship with that client. A lot of it is also working directly with the estimators and coming up with strategies and things like that on how to bid a project, what's important, and focusing on, how to, if there's something that you see that you want to like tell the client, but it's a bid, like a low bid project, essentially, you're the ones who's coming up with a way to like basically explain that to the client, kind of a thing. So a lot of it is just relationship driven. And I thought it was super fun. It is a lot of networking. You are going to events, you are going to golf tournaments, you are going to a lot of like clay shoots, fun things like that other, a typical, I mean, I guess PMs do, but you wouldn't normally do as much if you were in a different role. But it is a very difficult, trying job, but it's very rewarding as well.
Yeah, I think, and those are also the roles that sometimes, they get the bad stigma of, oh, it's just the easy role, right?
Yeah.
But it is much more the people focused individuals do really well in those ones, making those relationships and keeping those relationships. So those are like the types of people that fit those roles, really enjoy that. And so that energy is not getting drained from them, where for me, if I had to do that all day, every day, no, we're done. I don't want to do that. I will work on my relationships day to day that I have and I need to have, but the constant building that relationship with clients Sometimes tiring for me, but there's other people that really do well with it, and it's a lot more draining than I would think most people think. You're schmoozing, I guess, in a way. There's some skill to
Yeah.
that I don't fully understand, and that's why I don't do it.
Yeah. Well, and it's not just building relationships either. It's chasing projects. It's what type of projects could potentially be coming in the next couple of years. Like they're looking years in advance. I mean, looking at different things to see like how's a market, like what sector in the market is hot? What's going to be hot in the next couple of years? How are we going to strategically what do we need to do to strategically put ourselves in a place where we're going to be winning those projects when that happens? Like, there's a lot of very, very like just foresight that happens. I mean, it's pretty incredible.
Yeah, you're right. I did forget about that because I was talking to some people about that last couple of weeks ago. Is that like you are very much future looking. You're paying attention to the market, and so talking to people, there's that skill, but also the skill of like getting out of them what potentially could be happening in a couple of years, and what are they looking at as a client, right? Because what they're looking at, I may not need it as a trade partner for another 2 years, but I need to be aware it's coming. Or the same thing for a GC, paying attention to real estate sales or transfer of property, or just what's the market doing. So that's really, you are right, that is a big part of it.
Yeah.
And you have to talk to a lot of people to get all that information, so
Yep.
that's a good one.
Yeah.
I think tying in with that, if we go in like the marketing side of that, I mean, once you're starting with pursuits, we've got to, I guess, not even marketing for pursuits, but marketing for companies, for the general contractors, trade partners, whoever it is. I mean, there's whole marketing teams for that. They do a mixture of both, but I think if you stay within the construction side of it, they're helping with pursuits. They're making sure that whatever we give to our clients, whoever our clients are, that it looks professional, that it looks clean, that it stays in the standard of the company. And again, that's something that you don't need to have a marketing degree. Once you're in the company, maybe you just, hey, I want to check that out. That looks more fun. I'm an arty person. I'm a creative person, and I get to use construction skills, knowledge to help build the proposals with that estimator, with that business development person. I think there's then another little level there that it may not be the most common one that you're going to see people transfer to, but it is an opportunity that's out there that you don't realize until you're in it day to day.
We don't have marketing people other than like our big headquarter marketing, so I really can't speak to marketing very well.
We only have we do, but Kate just Nest, we had a couple. It was like one or two. It wasn't huge, but again, it's like Oh, I think if we take out, now we're moving more into just what's happening day to day. There are design or VDC, virtual design, or BIM teams from trade partners and GCs. You will see that. And again, I would say it depends on what do you like to do. I know guys that came from the field, journeymen, foremen, that have moved into design, and because they understand how to build things, so now they just need to learn the software that is used to do that, which you can go to school, night school, whatever it is, and they enjoy doing that. So that's another great area to work into if you really enjoy that aspect of it. I know when I was in college, we got like a little bit of taste of using the software. Definitely wasn't focused on that, but we got a little bit of taste of it. But there's teams that help design the mechanical, the electrical, right? Even prefab panels. If you know of bathroom pods or little mini houses. I mean, there's teams that basically that's what they do. They design it in the computer, and then that gets turned into drawings that help the guys in the field build it. So there's, as I said, VDC, BIM, ME engineering, construction design. I mean, everybody's got different names for them, but that's another area. I think one of it's the guys that sometimes use like the scanners to scan the current like job, so we can kind of try and figure out what it currently looks like and where things are. Those guys can be really super helpful when, you're building formwork or you're designing concrete, designing your final drawings for where something's actually going to be installed. So I would say it's a little bit different from an architect or a actual electrical mechanical engineer designer from that higher level that you hire with the GC as a and the client. We're getting more into the actual install methods. So that's what I'm talking about, not the design part of it. Now it's taking that design and going, how do we take this and make it readable and understandable for the guys in the field so they can build it? Or how do we then part it out so we know what to order? We know how we're going to build it, because there's a lot more to it. Just having like, here's a cut through it and put a duct here. There's a lot more work that has to happen to actually show you how that duct gets there. Prefabrication, maybe there's a shop outside of the company's main office that they actually need to go and actually build it in, and then they take it to the job site. So there's guys in-house that are fully designing what that looks like so the shop can build it before it ever goes out to the job site. So there's a whole design team for a lot of companies do that. I don't know if Jenna, you guys have that in-house or have you seen that?
Yeah, we do. We actually, so we have our BIM department, because we're a mill worker, we do more like scanning. So if we have a big elaborate like paneling job that has like radiuses and it's just very elaborate and it's almost too much for us to like hand field dimension with like tape measures, we'll actually scan the room and then turn it into a BIM model essentially, and create drawings to release our manufacturers who are actually going to be building the material off of. So that's kind of how we use the BIM. So I think it kind of just depends on what trade you are. But I mean, a lot of it, what a lot of it's used for too is like clash detection, right? Like, just because you've got a couple different sets of of drawings, of engineering drawings. You've like the electrical, you've got the mechanical, you've got the plumbing. So it's making sure that all three of those sets of drawings there's no clashes within that, right? You have typically three different engineers drawing each of those separately. So it kind of just helps alleviate some of that, so you're not figuring it out in the field. And then, I don't know, I think it's cool. Personally, I think it would be cool if we can like model the entire building, including all the finishes and stuff. I think if we did that, we would have like practically no issues in the field when it comes to like coordination and like clashes. So yeah, I mean, it's a really cool field. I actually have this guy we graduated with. He loved it so much that he went off to work for a company that creates the software for it. So he now does that, where he gets to create really cool software that you can literally put on like these like, what are they called? Virtual reality goggles, and walk around the building and see what it's going to look like. So you can like, it could be literally just like steel structure, and you can go around and like see what the future is going to look like in it. It's kind of cool. Very expensive, I'm sure, but
yeah. Well, that's a good point, because that's I know a couple other people that have left working for a general contractor or trade partner have gone into that technology area and building software, building machines, robots, or whatever to better the industry. So they definitely do look for people that understand the industry, so to come and work for them, because then it's like you have the same people talking to each other in a way. So that's, if you get to a point where you're like, I'm done with this, don't want to do it anymore, that's an opportunity. There's a lot of vendors and manufacturers and technology companies out there that they look for people that have been in the industry, that understand it, because that helps them. So that's a really great point.
I think another key role that I don't really know what their names really are, like all the GCs, but like a construction admin. I don't know what you would call them. What do you call them at?
Yeah, your project coordinators, project admin. I think there's a couple different roles, titles labeled there, and I think it's different for every company, because the same thing. Project engineer role could be different every
Right. Yeah.
company. So
Well,
yeah.
project admin, I mean, their role is extremely important. And I think that it kind of gets overlooked a lot when we talk about roles or talk about possibilities, but their role is basically making sure that people are getting paid. They're doing like the billings. They're doing all the front, like the paperwork front side of things, like lien waivers. They're doing like a lot of the admin stuff that you don't really think about until you're like, I think I want to be paid. I think I need, or I think we need to talk about all this other paperwork. They're doing like all the safety documentation. Like there's a lot of stuff that happens behind the scenes that they do that I don't think they get as much credit for as they should. Like they're very like they're I feel like somewhat of the backbone of a lot of the job sites. So I mean that's another really good role. They're usually
that one you can start in if you're just interested in the industry. I mean, that's, I would say some people that are just business admin or business administration, like majors or something, that's a great place. Maybe they're just trying to figure out where to go, or it's just, I'm just trying to start somewhere, figuring out anything, right? I mean, because it's a great entry level role for anyone, degree or no degree. Just to start learning. And you said yes, 100%. Like as a trade partner, I can call the PM and be like, hey, where's my money? But that person's usually then calling their admin or their controller or coordinator, whoever it is, being like, hey, why hasn't Kelley been paid? So usually, and I know even for me, when I have vendors from the trade side calling me being like, hey, we've sent in, invoices for your purchase orders and everything, like, why aren't we giving? I'm usually calling that person because I don't, on the day to day, I'm not in the billings, I'm not in the accounting software, but they are, and they know it way better than I do, and they're the ones that are doing all that. So you're right, they're the work that they're doing behind the scenes, so I can focus on, and you can focus on managing the project and making sure RFIs are happening, drawings are happening. The guys in the field have everything they need. They are doing the behind the scenes stuff to make sure we're getting paid, that we're paying our people, that we are, because they also, I know my previous company, they're part of the payroll for the guys out in the field. They're making sure the time cards are going in correctly. And so the guys in the field aren't going to get paid if I don't have them, because I'm not doing it. And even the billings, every trade partner, every city, the taxes are different. The waivers are different. They know all that. I don't. I just send them, hey, here, fill this out. I don't know it. So there's a lot, that they do. I do not know how to do. And if I didn't have that person, I'd be like, I'm lost. Or you get the email, but you don't really know them. So you're like, from the trade partner side. So, because sometimes they're not always on site. Some are. Some are always on site to be with their project teams from the GC side, but some aren't. I know with me as a trade partner, we had a small amount of them. And so if I wasn't in the city that they were working in, they may be fully virtual for me as a trade partner. So that's kind of, I know who they are because they work for my company, but sometimes they're not there. So even from the GC side doesn't mean they're always there. So I think that's one of the things is like finding the right person. But that's a great start role to see if you really even like the industry. Maybe it's just like, hey, I want to check it out. That's a great one. And then I mean, we can go into so much more, but the role I'm in now, focusing on lean and continuous improvement, it's a newer role in the industry as a whole. It's not the easiest role to find in regards to like, there's not like a bunch of positions out there. But I want to help us. I want to help us be better. And that's the way that I'm doing it. And so that's a really key thing for me. But I think there's also like learning and development, like departments, training departments, that again, that it could be an opportunity. I'm not saying it, you will always have those opportunities, but when they're there and you think, hey, I would like to be more of a training or a coaching or helping our teams be better, like those are opportunities that potentially could be there, right? Or going into different companies where they have those opportunities. And then ones that I wouldn't say you see as much movement across, you've got legal. think for GCs, you're getting probably in-house legal. I know some people outside that after college went to law school because they wanted to be a construction lawyer.
Yeah, I have friends that do that.
Yeah. And then I knew one woman from my graduating class that she went into the industry for a couple of years and then went to law school and then went into construction law officially, like that way. But I mean, you could get a CM degree and be like, well, I like being a lawyer. Now I have construction and I'll go be a lawyer. I would say you just don't see it, that transfer, like while you're already in a company. You obviously probably need your law degree for that. But there's like contract admins that, I mean, there's probably less with trade partners. I don't think we had in-house lawyers. That's usually external. I think the bigger GCs, we're going to see the in-house lawyer stuff.
We just got one. We just hired one like a few months ago. Yeah, for our first one ever. Yeah.
So I think it depends. HR, I think's another one that usually you're a little more focused on that, how to be in HR. That's a little different, I would say, than just, let's go try out a different industry or a different role. But again, it could be a stepping stone. I know someone that started out as like a PC project coordinator that we were just talking about. She got her degree more in that human resources thing, and she left, went to a different industry, and now has come back to the construction industry in HR. She wanted HR, and so that's why she left, because she went into an HR role and then has come back to a separate company into an HR role back in the construction industry. So, I mean, again, she wouldn't have known that she could even do that if she hadn't just started at the project coordinator level and just learned more about the industry. And now she has that experience and she came back to it. So I think that's another opportunity. And then I think the last ones that I can think of is mostly all companies have like a warehouse somewhere of stuff. And you could come in and like, I'm just a warehouse manager. I say that's a lot, because you're getting a lot of people calling you, needing stuff out on job sites, delivering stuff from the warehouses, because we have all these tools and we have all this stuff. Where does it go when we're not on a job site?
Gang boxes.
Even if you think about like monitors or tables or desks and chairs that go somewhere when the job site's not there anymore. Got to go to a warehouse. And there's guys that deliver that, drive around, help project teams with setting that up. I mean, that's a whole other area that, I mean, I don't want to work in the trades, but hey, I can be aware. I can work in the warehouse and like work on that. Why not?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a whole other area, and most companies need that.
I think those are some pretty good starter points. Like if you've been interested in getting into the industry, or even just like going to school for construction management and you're like, I don't really know if I want to be a project manager, there are so many other avenues that you can go down, and a lot of more opportunities. And honestly, like just being in the industry, regardless of the role that you're in, is just super rewarding. I mean, it's one of the, in my opinion, one of the most rewarding role or industries, because you get to see a tangible thing, like a product after with whatever you're doing, regardless of what role you're on. You have like an end product at the end of the day that people get to use every day for years and years and years, like, to come. So like, it's very rewarding. And yeah, so I mean, you're interested, I'd say jump in.
Yeah.
Find where
and if we missed some key roles that you're like, hey, what about these ones? Shoot it in the comments. Or other really interesting ones that we may have missed. I mean, it's definitely based on our experience and what we've seen, but don't just limit yourself to the ladder that is shown to you. There's so much more, and take the opportunities, even if it's for a short time, to jump into one for 4 to 6 months and just test it out. Because first of all, you don't know if you're not going to like it or not, and second, that it will improve your skills, and it'll make you a better employee for that company or future companies. it will grow you, and that's what matters. I think knowing more about the different roles and what they do and understanding the why really helps in understanding the whole process and how we get from start to end. There's a lot that happens before one shovel's in the ground. There's a lot of things happening to get while the shovel's in the ground, but I think it's just understanding the full why, and again, it makes you a better person.
I agree. Great. Well, thanks everyone for listening. Please tune in for our next one.